Village of Fredonia Board order. First task is may the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk Johnson, could you please do the roll?
President Lynn.
Here.
Trustee Eifert. Here. Trustee Frank. Here. Trustee Abeglin.
Here.
Trustee Fearing.
Here.
Trustee Van Room.
Here. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Please note that public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. All right. On to the next item, consent agenda to approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2026 Village Board of Trustees meeting and to approve the general fund, water and sewer invoices. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Passes. Next item, report on village committees. Planning Commission, we met first Monday of the month. We approved a building improvement project for KMC siding. And we discussed the issue with the commercial property on Fredonia Avenue being used as a residence based upon an inspection by Administrator Jenkins and Marshall Leet. The building is still being used as a primary residence. So it has been referred to the Board of Trustees for action. And that's the Planning Commission for this month. Next item on the agenda, Public Works Committee report.
We met on the 15th of January and we discussed the Washington Avenue reconstruction. We have recommended that go out to bid. We also recommended bidding for the resurfacing of Stony Creek Park and Fillmore Street municipal lots. We also reviewed the 2026 equipment list. Director Paul has reviewed everything and what his plans are and what we need to look forward to. He's looking forward to spending some more money. So fair warning, he's coming and talking to us about that. We reviewed the road rating list and the sidewalk maintenance program. And then we also discussed the crosswalk signage locations. That's pretty much what we discussed.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from J. Cody Ziegler of Cushman and Wakefield on the sales strategy for parcel numbers 0903513050 located in the TID number 3.
Great, thanks for having me this evening. Appreciate everyone's time. I guess I'll just kind of start with a general market overview. We're in market, jump into some of the attachments. So for Ozaukee County, market size about 14.5 million square feet. We are seeing vacancy rate just under 4%. Half that is actually the 200 Industrial Drive building, Homer Dynamo building about 317,000 square feet. Absorption about 50,000 square feet last quarter. The general contractor for Port Washington Data Center signed a 50,000 square foot lease in Saukville. Market wise in Fredonia, we are generally seeing requirements related to the Port Washington Data Center. And it's anticipated that we'll see additional economic development as a result of that. The Port Washington Data Center is running 18 months behind the Microsoft Data Center. In Racine County, we saw about 750,000 square feet of leasing directly tied to Microsoft Data Center. And some of those became longer-term requirements. The mechanical signed a long-term lease for 250,000 square feet. Opine bid about 280,000 square feet. Global Power Components, West Milwaukee bought the home printing facility. Other smaller electrical contractors also signed one as well. So we're able to see some of that come. Some of the early stages of it, where we're 3 data center requirements that are in the market right now, all servicing the Port Washington data center. They're generally looking for shorter terms because that's what their contract are with Vantage. So we're seeing 2 to 3 year term, where 50,000, 250,000 square foot requirements. But that's a snowball that we think will continue to escalate and lead to longer term requirements and economic opportunity. From Port Washington up to Sheboygan, all the way down to Philadelphia. So, any questions on the general real estate market for industrial for me? Great, we can jump into some of these attachments. Hopefully you all had a chance to review. So the first attachment is just our marketing brochure. This is what we're sending out, attachments to e-blast. We're doing direct email canvassing, directly calling, and e-blasting, as well as canvassing, market, and printing these off and dropping them off at local businesses that may or may not have a need. So we're just uncovering every stone that we possibly can. Next attachments are basic marketing strategy. We don't need to go through bullet point by bullet point, but effectively our key messages to the market are streamlined approval process. Village of Fredonia has a very efficient process for approvals. And that's a big deal for industrial occupiers, especially where speed to market is becoming more and more important for them. And then economic opportunity with potential economic incentives and already advertised below market land acquisition prices. Market is at $90,000 dollars per acre. Any questions on the brochure or the marketing plan for me? Seeing none, we can run through our kind of prospect list, probably on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most likely to produce a sale contract in the next 12 months or hopefully sooner. Most of these are probably sitting at a 1 at this point in time. We've been having conversations with a local developer interested in self-storage or industrial condos. Conversations that we're having with this developer, we're targeting a tax increment of about $8 million. Just looking at the last report from the TID, the developer does not believe that he can get there, but we continue to have conversations with that gentleman. Electrical contractor for about 50,000 square feet. They are an immediate requirement, may potentially convert into a longer term requirement that's related to the Port Washington data center. There's a food manufacturer that's in the early stages of their site selection. They're within about a 30-minute radius of the site, and had substantial conversation within this fall. They kind of went into planning mode. We're expecting this to get some more feedback within sometime Q1. The heavy manufacturer, I've had conversations with Chris and the engineer. This is a heavy power requirement. They're looking for more immediate sites that can deliver up to 10 megawatts of power. The reality is that doesn't exist anywhere. So they're very slow moving, but still looking for sites. They may come back to the table and bite the bullet and look at what it looks like to bring in power to viable sites. There's a fermentation company that we have a contact with one of the owners who's an attorney. They are looking at sites in southeastern Wisconsin, specifically Washington County and Ozaukee County, due to existing presence in the area. Very early on that one, we don't have a lot of direction on where that's headed. And then a manufacturer of Sheboygan County is in the market for up to 300,000 square feet long-term requirement, looking for more immediate occupancy. They've been through the 200 industrial drive building a number of times. They have a very expensive tenant improvement package, and we're not sure if that deal will weigh in at 200 industrial, just getting the improvements, and they may consider infill construction. So those are our top prospects that we're going out and contacting and additional, we're, continuing to do morning canvassing via e-blasts, cold calling, canvassing, dropping off brochures. So that's what I've got for you guys. Any questions for me?
Question about the heavy manufacturing. You said that one of the issues that they have is there's not enough power transmission to get to them.
Yep.
With the data center going in Port Washington and the likelihood of having to bring in higher power levels through ATC and so forth, would that make any difference? The fact that we're going to have those power lines being brought in to the area, not necessarily through here, but near here.
We looked at this, in terms of delivering power to the site, and it required an additional substation to either off existing feeds or feeds that are planned to go into Port Washington Data Center. And I believe that was like, it's part of like an $8 to $10 million price tag for that. So we sent that off to the prospect, rather than the broker that's representing them. We haven't heard substantial feedback since then, but it's likely the case for pretty much any greenfield site. It's not going to have that sort of power just because it's substantially below standard. Ultimately, they're going to come to the realization that they're going to need to one, wait for the power to be delivered, and then to be able to write a check or deliver or structure some sort of tax amount financing to make those improvements happen. So
I was curious about that. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
great. Yeah, we're hoping that it's a good year for down here in this land, that we can move it. Again, we're seeing increased economic opportunity in this market, especially related to data center. So we'll keep everyone in the loop as things sort of progress, and hopefully we'll be back here next time for approvals.
What was your projected time on market again for them properties?
I'd have to look, but like off the cuff, I want to say 12 to 18 months for 6-7 months for that. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is report on the operations of the village, starting with the village president. I can talk about the fact that we are aware of the increased truck traffic on Fredonia Avenue for the data center, but working with law enforcement and the people who are in charge of scheduling and routing trucks and so forth, we've managed to get the number of trucks coming through the village significantly reduced. Significantly reduced. So that's, still may have a few coming through once in a blue moon, but it's not nearly as many. However, some folks on North Milwaukee Avenue have noticed increased truck traffic there. That's due to construction going on up in the Emerald Hills area, which is local. They got nowhere else to go but down Milwaukee Avenue. So we will have a little bit of truck traffic there, but it's not going to be nearly as frequent. And it's not going to last for several years as it will for the data center. So, and we have new housing construction going on. That's also a big positive. Nearly all of the developers in the TID have committed to starting to build this year. And that is excellent because the TID needs to have that building going up. And that increase in activity there should make it maybe a little more appealing to the people who are looking into those open spaces there. Finally, on Saturday, January 31st, we're holding a coffee with the village from 9 to 11 here at the Village Hall. I invite you to come. I invite some of the trustees to come along, as long as we don't get quorum, and have coffee and donuts and sit about and chat. And that's all I have. Administrator Jenkins.
Sure thing. Thank you. I'll echo President Lenz. We've seen some activity up to the north of the village with the single-family lot that's getting constructed. We have 2 pending lots for sale up there, and then the duplex that was mentioned. So that's all pretty exciting. After a couple of years of nothing, this is certainly a welcome change to see. As you all know, we launched our first program. News is starting to spread. I've talked to a number of realtors throughout the region that are starting to share the news, which is really exciting. So hopefully we can build on that publicity as time moves on. We finally sold the property for Laura Logan storage units. For those that are on the board, I think this is going on even longer than I've been here, and we have finally sold that property, which is awesome. So that added some much needed lot revenue to our TID to continue to move that forward. And then, as President Lentz stated, we'll see significant construction traffic throughout this year. And so we'll manage that to the best that we can with everybody that wants to build. Treasurer Upton and I worked on various year-end financial items, especially today. We're crunching our numbers to really get a clear picture of where we're at the end of the year. When I finish my report, I want to jump to my attached financials, so I'll get into that a little bit later. Moving on, we continue to collect taxes, update our insurances, all that other good stuff. You guys know that Eric picked up a couple new pieces of equipment that he's pretty excited about. We met for the fire and EMS study that the chief will be talking about in a little bit. The plow truck specifically, and I know Eric has talked to a few of you all, it's continued to have issues. We continue to have repairs with it. Eric and I are brainstorming some ways to address that sooner than we had planned. We bid out the projects for Washington and the parking lots. Just so you all understand that timeline, we're hoping to have all those bids in February 5th. You guys can approve those bids that day. After we approve those, we'll now have firm costs of all of our capital projects, and then we can go to bid out the bond market, I should say, to borrow the dollars for all those projects. And so I'm looking into various ways to really get the best bang for our buck. We have three different options. We can go out to the bid market to bid out our bonds and see what rate we get. Our financial advisors are estimating that would be probably around 4% for a 10-year bonding. If we go out through the state trust fund, that rate is currently at 5.25. And then I reached out to our local bank buddies, PWSB, to see if they would have any interest in bidding the project too. So depending on which one is really going to provide the best rate for our village, that's what I'll come back to you all as a recommendation for. So plan on that towards the end of February, beginning of March, so that we can tie a bow in this and move forward. Moving on in my report here, we've had various meetings between our department heads, the Ozaukee County Administrators meeting. The one exciting one that I want to touch on is we had a meeting with Frontier Communications, who, just so you know, is getting bought out by Verizon. But Frontier Communications is planning on laying fiber throughout the majority of the village. And when we met with them, we added on obviously the industrial park expansion. So those new developers will have that connection, and then getting to the wastewater treatment plant in order to establish a connection there, which for those of you who don't know, has been truly a hassle to get any sort of internet connection out there in the middle of the woods. So it's all positive stuff that they're making that investment into the village. Obviously, we'll get a little bit of permanent revenue from that too, and we'll have increased public utilities for our residents. We launched a new series for 2026. Hopefully you all guys all saw it. It's called It Takes a Village, where we're going to be highlighting different departments and operations throughout the village. The first lucky duck was Brandon, who talked about snow plowing. And I know he's not here, but I'll give him a big shout out. He did a really good job for being really called on the fly. Eric just happened to not be available. And Brandon just did a great job talking about the operations, what they do down there, and providing clear context and guidance to our residents. So next up, we'll be talking about permitting and inspections, which is equally as exciting. So watch for that. And then finally, I just want to say thank you to the various sponsors we have for our summer events. It's truly humbling. I say this every year, but it's humbling that every year we continue to get the level of sponsorships that we do for such a small village. This year we planned on increasing the number of Tuesday Tunes events that they were offering. Well, that means more sponsors, and the community is really stepping up. So that's awesome to see. So that's it from my main report. If we all want to flip to this little chart here, and you can whip out your reading glasses because I know it's small. This is a unaudited summary now of the full 2025. So our revenues versus expenses. If you want to go to the far end, look at the total. The total is what we are assuming are our actuals, and then the budget is what we have budgeted. So just going down that line, there is not too much change in tax revenue, not too much in our intergovernmental revenues. License and permits, you see a slight decrease. That was mainly due to building permit revenues not coming in as high, but obviously we'll make up for that this year with the industrial park. Moving forward, the miscellaneous revenues, you see a big uptick. That is the Amy donation that we accepted at the end of the year. Then when you move to general fund expenses, on the general government side, we saw our audit and office expenses generally go down. Our legal and engineering contracting stipend went up a little bit, and then so did our maintenance for Village Hall itself. Moving on to public safety, you see a slight decrease due to just the equation that we use for renting our hydrants out. Public Works saw a decent increase. Our garbage and recycling contract came in higher than we had planned. And then, as we all know, equipment maintenance continues to be quite a challenge for our Public Works guys. Moving on to parks, it's the same thing. A little bit of repair and maintenance came in slightly over budget. Development is under budget, and then our transfers out. These are the items that we transfer to our various funds. We completed all of those as of today. So you'll see the fire fund be completely balanced. The paramedic fund has those dollars. The CIP has the dollars that they need. And we're estimating a decent amount of quote unquote extra funds that we roll over into our fund balance. So if you remember in our audit presentation each year, the challenge and the hope is that we could increase our fund balance each year. Based on the numbers that we saw today, we will be doing that. So when we work with our auditors this spring, we can confirm how much that exactly will be. And then moving on to our other funds, there's no real big highlights here. Just know that we were able to pay for all of the things that we need to at each of our funds. The biggest change this in 2025 than 2026 is obviously the TID. So you see a lot of expenses in the TID as we built out that industrial park. Now that that's done, that's going to curve way down. So the big hope is that moving forward, as we have the developments coming in this year, that'll roll into the tax increment. Looking into the numbers that Julie and I had, we should have enough funds to make our 2027 payment for our principal and interest payments. And then once that increment comes in, we'll actually know how much the value of those properties are, which again, we've been working with a lot of estimates throughout how many years. So once we have that actual cost, we'll know how much that gap is and what we need to be developing that 15-acre parcel to be. So overall, I mean, 2025 was, I think, probably our best fiscal year that we've had in a long time. And 2026, we're continuing to do some great stuff. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, but that's a high-level summary for y'all.
Any questions? All right, the next report is from Marshall Lee.
As President Lenz already pointed out, the issue with the trucks, and we've been pleased with their decision to redirect those. Not all of them have been redirected. There is still going to be some small amount. So I've kept instructions up to my deputies to continue to watch, to continue to look for violations. Specifically, our two biggest complaints, the speed and the engine braking. I will say on the time I've been out there looking, they've been behaving themselves. We've gotten word from several of the contractors that the Vantage has given some pretty clear instructions that they don't want to see violations.
Good to hear.
Get yourself involved in local flare-ups and you're out of the project. That's kind of what we're hearing. Hopefully that'll stick. We'll keep an eye on it though, because this is a long-term project, and sometimes what starts out strict and slack off as time goes on. So we'll keep an eye on that. It occurs to me since we last talked, the body cam system had gone down. I did get the additional stuff I needed. And fortunately, they let us access the system early at no additional charge for the new one. So as a result of that, the body cam was only down for us for about 2 weeks before the new system was up and running. So there wasn't really much of any pause in service. So we were pleased on that one as well. Short of that, it's planning for the spring and summer. And winter is usually our slowest time, so we're gearing up for what we're gonna need to do with the spring and the summer. I'd like to take a serious look at addressing speed issues on Fredonia Avenue. That's part of one of my self-chosen goals for the week. So that's something that we're gonna be taking a hard look at as the winter goes on and try to get some plans in place for the coming busy season.
I'll have to keep that in mind as I slow down.
Well, and I think also that's what we were talking about at Public Works, was having the crosswalk.
Yeah.
And especially with the upcoming summer season with the splash pad.
Correct. And especially the one down there by Fillmore,
Yes.
because that is
Yeah,
part of
discussed with Eric, have you got that one ordered?
No, if we're gonna do that one there, and if we're gonna have another light up on top, I have to make sure I order everything together so they work in sync, so we're just.
That'd
Waiting
be
on
a
that.
thought that we had was ordered one that they press the button and the light on top, they
Yeah.
flashes, so.
Yeah, that was my recommendation as well, as I think those, of all the different signage you could do, I think the interactive ones like that are probably the most successful. Those are the ones that I've seen do the best work down in Fort. So, but we're gonna be looking for other ideas too, so I got a couple of my deputies that be brainstorming with it, so you can find out other things too. It's always gonna be a challenge for us. Fredonia Avenue is the highest percentage of out-of-town traffic in the city. So as such, it's tough to really develop an institutional memory as far as speeding goes and stuff like that, but it's also our biggest source of complaints, so we certainly want to do what we can to address it.
And how bad are we talking speeding, 5, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour?
We've seen some good ones. I think the highest I've gotten on there is 25, which is ridiculous. So normally I let the citation do the talking. That gentleman also got a bunch of it go along with. But it's you know, when we did the speed survey on Fredonia Avenue, that's where we were seeing our biggest speeds, and again, it's such a high volume. I think we were all surprised to find out that there are about 30,000 vehicles traveling Fredonia Avenue a week. So that's going to consistently be one of our biggest challenges.
Thanks for the front line of defense out there. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. And the next item on the agenda then is Chief Weicker.
Good evening. You have my report in your packet. Training, little less training being done during the month of December because we had the Christmas holiday in there. So we ended up losing a week there, so it's kind of limited in what we do. We did do some in-house stuff with CPR training for all our EMS crews. And then the fire engineering training, we actually went down to Millions Lumber and worked on one of their buildings with their chimneys, called chimney fires. So that was a great opportunity for us to be able to use their buildings. A special note down there, just an update on the fire paramedic staffing. We recently hired Sam Hutchinson as our second full-time paramedic. So over the Christmas holiday, he completed all of his assessment skills and was cleared by our medical director. So anybody that passes an EMT school or a new EMT coming in, even if they have 30 years of experience, our medical director has to do an assessment of their skills and make sure that they're signed off to provide service for our ambulance. So Sam was able to get that all cleared out, and he was cleared to run as a single paramedic for us. That's good news. So we have 2 full-time and 2 part-time paramedics. So we're back to where we were pre-Christmas holiday when Josh stepped down, went part-time. But Since then, we've interviewed a candidate for our last part-time position, and we're working on extending an offer to him. And we also interviewed a candidate for a last full-time position, so good news there. We're just waiting for both those to come back with accepted offers, and we will be fully staffed with that program with 3 full-time and 3 part-time. I'll be ecstatic if that happens. That'll be good to be able to provide 24/7 care for our communities that we serve and not have to rely that much on our surrounding communities to provide shared medical service. December of 2025, our call volumes, we had 7 fire incidents, we had 15 rescue incidents in the village, and then our ambulance went up 38 different incidents for that. Paramedic intercept, we have 24 year to date that we did in 2025. Then on the right there, we're comparing our 2025 calls to our 2024 calls. And one significant note, there's the fire volume. The fire incident volume has gone up. And what I'm attributing that to is our mutual aid calls that we go on to other departments. Everybody is hurting for personnel, and they're relying on other departments to help support their incidents. So I know that we've gone to Newburgh in 2025 more times than what we ever did in the history of Fredonia's department. So not just Newburgh, but there's other communities farther out to that we're reporting to for calls. And then the ambulance calls, that was down about 64 calls this year, and that I'm attributing to village, mostly from the village of Fredonia. We just had less rescue calls at the village of Fredonia this year. So that. And then our call volumes, you see that there. We did, one thing that's not in your packet was, we met with, Chris and myself met with McMahon Associates Representative Robert Whitaker. We looked at a draft copy of the study, that they are doing for us. Robert had collected all the data from all the municipalities and fire departments, piled it all into a nice report. It was just a draft report that we got to review. We've got an opportunity to review ahead of time and to talk about some things that may be missing that we'd like to see in it. And he can give us his opinions on some things. Nothing really surprising that I don't think, for me, I don't think there was much in there that was surprising. Chris, same thing. It just pointed out that the obvious things of staffing shortages. Our current volunteer staffing is getting older. And we gotta figure out what we're gonna do. What's the plan, right? The other piece that they did point out is we are slightly over on our capital equipment between the 3 fire departments. So that's something that's out there to look at as a possible opportunity on future investments and where we go with that capital equipment. One of the things we did discuss at length was the insurance services offices. That dictates what our fire flow needs to be in order to have lower insurance rates for commercial and residential customers, for your home fire insurance or commercial fire insurance. So Chris actually got us in touch with our insurance rep, and we're working on setting up a time to sit down with him and try to understand what is more financially responsible for the village, to spend $1 million on a pumper or on an engine that's going to sit in the station just so we can save some money on insurance, or is it we just don't invest that and let the insurance go up a little bit? You got to see what that percentage is. What does that affect us? How does it affect us? None of us, even the Robert from McMahon Associates, understood that. He said he really hasn't had he's a fire chief at the North Shore Fire Department, and he hasn't had the opportunity ever to dig into the ISO thing and try to understand that. Every time you ask, and I've had this happen to me too, every time you ask the auditor when he comes in, I don't really know. I can't really answer that. I just put the data in, and they send you a report. My question is, can I get rid of an engine down in that station because I've got a ladder truck with a pump on it, I've got 2 other engines. Can I get rid of one of those and not adversely affect all of our commercial properties and our residential properties by getting rid of that pump capacity? So opportunities, but yeah, it'll be meeting that report is we're looking at setting up a time to present it to the overall committee for the municipalities, and then bring it out to each one of the reports.
question for you.
Yep.
Could it be beneficial for your 2026 year to actually separate your mutual fire incidents from like your mutual aid incidents?
Okay. Yeah, we looked at that, maybe we have opportunity for. Right now, we're converting over to a different national reporting system. For all fire incidents, and I think it'll be easier to sort that out simply, rather than manually. You know, we can always do manual, it's like 75, but I think it'll be easy. See.
Just to give us an idea of how much our department's going out for mutual aid versus.
And then the other one is too, how many times do we rely on mutual aid as well, right?
Right.
So you have that comparison of, if we went out of village here 25 times this year, we only received 5 back.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next report is from DPW Director Paulus.
You have my report. This year is gonna be a big push to change out water meters. I have between 60 and 70 that are scheduled to be replaced. And as Administrator Jenkins said, it's been a struggle with our plow truck to keep it operational on the road. The last fix I had, the county had to come here and fix it because I couldn't get it to move. Hopefully we come back with some ideas on replacement.
Any questions? All right, the next report is from Clerk Johnson.
So I think the most exciting thing is that the deadline for candidates to submit their paperwork passed. We certified enough signatures for each candidate. And the candidates are for the 2-year term ending 2028. Ann Redmond, Ricka Beglin, Rudy McCormick, and Jessica Frank. And for the 1-year term, that's a special election to fill Trustee Dorwart's vacancy, Eric Stowe and Bruce Pappy. We did a bunch of election trainings over the last few weeks. Both trainings had a refreshed slide deck. And the county clerk and deputy clerk and the city of Cedarburg clerk came to these trainings, which was a great opportunity for us to learn from each other. I updated WISVOTE, so all of the candidates and contests are in. I feel like the phone has been ringing a lot the last few weeks with all kinds of different issues, mostly the trucks, but that's died down a little bit. Snow removal, loose animals, dogs and chickens, utility questions and election questions. Animal permitting is ongoing. Dog licenses are due March 31st. And then I only have one outstanding chicken permit this year, which I personally view as a triumph after 3 years of nagging folks to get that done. And then all the normal day-to-day operations.
Thank you very much. The next report is from the village treasurer, Upson.
So most of my time's spent on all kinds of various year-end stuff, lots of payroll, HR things, your W-2s that the last few handed tonight. 1099s, getting the quarterly water sewer bills out. Getting financials updated as best as possible, which Chris and I were working on till 5 o'clock tonight. Then I can start working on the items that the auditors are gonna wanna review. It's just been a lot of that. Looking forward to the summer with lots of meter replacements. I tend to, I support Eric with all the kinds of various informational needs that he has for all that type of data. Michelle just said, with the dog licensing, that the deadline is March 31st. I got the manual from the county late last year, read through a chunk of that. I will be actually running reports this spring, once that deadline hits, to send out notices for whoever is not licensed their pets. I don't think that's been something that's been done, because I noticed last year with licensing pets that a lot of owners only came in to license their pets when they got their rabies updated every 2 or whatever years, which, you know, ordinance is that they need to be licensed every year, so I will be starting to be the gatekeeper on that. So look forward to sending out some nasty grams. So whoever's listening to this, you know, that may be coming if you don't license your dog. Other than that, you know, just getting ready for more new carryover of the new year, getting to make sure that workforce is updated with the budget. Everything else financial. I'll be working with workforce. Chris said that I could get the new accounts receivable module that they released recently. That will help us with a lot of the various miscellaneous billing that we're doing manually right now, especially with a lot of, you know, Eric's with the lab and, you know, like sewer disposal stuff, you know, so there's a lot of miscellaneous billing that we're doing, and this can help us streamline it. It'll integrate in with the rest of the modules we have with workforce, and it'll keep a running balance versus me having to keep manual copies and looking to make sure who may or may not have paid on time or not. So it's just, it'll be a great tool for a small amount of money on that. So that I feel will be a good investment going forward with, especially we're gonna be doing more lab work and all that. So that would be my next little bigger project.
Thank you very much. Final operations report is from the Ozaki County District 2 Supervisor. And so we will move on. Items for action and or discussion. The first item here is discussion and possible action on SAP contribution.
So, Chris Benson, I'm the first assistant chief of the fire department. Been on the department for 30+ years. Here to talk about the SAP program. Been involved with this since 2002. Basically what it is the state, and even back then we knew we had issues with retention and recruitment for members. I mean, nobody wants to talk about it, nobody wanted to really admit it, but we was there, state to it too, and this was their attempt at helping. Maybe with a little bit of money, a little bit of future cash payout could maybe help with recruitment. I think this plan does help. I know that it helps keep some members around. So it is working. The recruitment part of it, I think kind of fell a little flat. It didn't really, you know, almost someone's supposed to do. But the way the plan works is the department sets up whatever requirements they decide is important for their group. Our requirements for our membership is to be eligible for a contribution. You need to make the training hours. You need to have your training hours, each training hours, and you are eligible for contribution. It seems like it's worked pretty well. Some people will put in call numbers, you know, there's a variety of different things you can put into it and whatever you want, but we're trained, and if you're coming down every week and doing things, you're gonna respond to calls. It's gonna be great. So I think that's worked out pretty good for us. The state, basically what they do is they budget a certain amount, they offer a dollar figure for each eligible member. For this year, that number is $509.56. I want to say back in 2002 it was $171. So it's obviously increased. They will match up to that amount, whatever you decide that you want to contribute to each eligible member. If you look at the document I have, the top half is this year. The bottom half is a little bit of historical. It's last year's actions, numbers, whatever. So it's kind of an old form. You got to ignore the total available. We have a total budget amount. I believe it is $15,000. If we were to decide to spend all that money on our membership, it would give us a contribution of $600. Be careful with that because there are expenses, there are fees that have to be paid on $2,000 or $3,000. So that's not really a good number to go by. I do also give you the state match. If you were to pay out the state match, it's 24 eligible members, that would be $12,000. Like I said, since 2002, 1 year out of all of those years, we did not do the state match. We did the extra last year. But every other year it's been a state match. That's just for historical purposes. We have 4 or 5 of us that are actually getting contributions when you turn 60. You do not have a choice, you start to take money out of the program. As long as you stay eligible, you stay active, you get a contribution, but it's kind of, it's a little hokey, but like I said, we have most members that are already benefiting from it. The money is invested very similar to a 401k, very similar to the state pension plan. There's vesting 10 years, you're 95% vested. But the new rules, you cannot become 100% vested until you turn 60. Yes, I have questioned a lot of people on it, I never had an answer. This came out of committee, that's all I get out. But we have members at 40 years old that have 95% vesting. They need to stay active on the department another 10 years to get that extra 5%. Seems nuts, but that's the difference. So what I'm coming to you today for is to get a number, to ask for a number to make a contribution to the eligible members. Like I mentioned, we have 24 members that are eligible. I will say I have made mistakes in the past, once, maybe twice. So normally the motion is to make a contribution with a certain dollar amount to eligible members. That gives me a little bit of leeway in that if somebody comes back tomorrow and says, hey, I had all this training time, you didn't have any system, get adjusted. Because technically they are legal, they're eligible, they shouldn't have their contribution. The numbers only ever changed by one person, so it's not a big flexible thing, but does anybody have questions?
Why are the processing fees so expensive?
I'm sorry.
Why are the processing fees so expensive?
We have Enflex is running the program, they're the legal people behind it, they have state law. We have any questions, we don't know about that, they're processing it. And UBS is the investment company, so they're.
So there's processing and administrative fees that we have to pay.
Well, I understand there's that, but I didn't expect it to be $3,000 to sign some papers.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Probably the dollar amount, but it's per account.
Yeah, I know there's one of the fees that it's based on the number of participants. So the more participants, the higher the fees.
I think there's a flat $1,000 fee and another. It's active accounts. And then, like some of the accounts, we have people that are vested or they have at least 50% vesting. Their account's gonna stay open until they can take that money out, which is at age 60. That's an active account, so we're paying for that, know whether they're still a member or not. And then any members that we had, just a round number, we have 24 members, let's say 20 of them, 15 of them are better off the entire time. I can't tell you what anybody else has. My account is 35,000. So it's substantial, it's reasonable amount. I can't retire on that, but I can work forward. So it's nice. It's a nice addition. And like I said, I think the big thing is it's keeping members. It does help.
The recommendation here is to approve a matching state fund of $509.56 by 24 members, which would equal $12,229.44, plus the processing fees of approximately $3,000, which would come in just a little under $16,000, which is the budget. And that would give you that little bit of wiggle room, I believe, that you might need.
So I would make a motion to approve the state match for every eligible member. Plus all the processing fees. For it's not also anymore. For the.
As they.
SAP,
Yeah, you want to call it wholesale, I know it's wrong.
Still also there.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Do we have any further discussion? You have a question?
Well, I mean. I guess what's the problem with this approving 16,000 budgeted and then whatever comes out after the processing fees, if it's more than the state match. That's just a little more.
Well, I think that's pretty much what we were doing. I was saying it's coming in around 16,000, which is what we had budgeted.
A lot of times what we'll do is if there is anything left over after that, if it's $100 or $1,000, it'll go over to next year's budget. Included into that. Historically. Doesn't happen much.
Yep. Any other questions? Then I'll call the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Are there any abstaining? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda, motion to approve intergovernmental cooperation agreement for fire service mutual aid in Ozaki County. Chief Weicker or Administrator Jenkins?
Chief's here, so.
All right, I'll let the chief take care of it.
So, as long as I've been part of the fire, dates back to 1989, there has always been a mutual aid agreement between all of those County fire departments. That agreement just was put in place so that nobody was charging anybody for any fire service side of things. But with the recent, I shouldn't say recent, but with the changes over the last couple of years of mergers of municipal departments, like the Mequon and Thiensville fire departments coming together to form Southern Ozaki. We had Grafton Fire Department and Saco Fire Department merging together to form Ozaki Central. We, as the fire chiefs for Ozaki County, said we need to update this document to make it more of what it is today. So that's exactly what you have in front of you. It's basically the same verbiage that was in the old one. Yes, lawyers did look at it from Cedarburg and Grafton and everybody else. Nobody really had any changes to it. It was just basically a name change. Taking the pushing Ozaki Central in there and Southern Ozaki Fire in that. So, just looking for approval to put Pete's name on that, and Michelle's name on it, and get that to the rest of the fire chiefs and that's good.
All right. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental cooperation agreement for fire service mutual aid in Ozaki County.
Item. Any further questions, comments? I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstaining? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, introduction to ordinance 2026-01 pertaining to membership of the Ethics Committee. Administrator Jenkins.
Sure. How many of you knew that we have an ethics board? Oh, good. Thank goodness. Well, we might have an ethics board, but nobody's on it. And nobody's been on it. I mean, as long as I've been here, maybe we've had members once upon a time, but it's been historically difficult to find people to serve on any committees, let alone this one that almost never meets. So President Lenz and I kind of put our heads together and looked at this ordinance. And I feel like in order to make this at least a little bit easier to fill, perhaps if we shrink the number of members on that board, then it might make it a little bit more attainable. Right now, the ordinance states that it's 5 sitting members and 2 alternates, so that's 7 different people. And not only is it 7 different people, but it's people that can have nothing to do with our village operations. They can't be relatives of ours, of mine, of yours, or any of that. The ordinance does allow for people who work in the village. They don't have to necessarily live here, but they could work here in the village to be on that committee. So that's obviously a positive thing. But long story short, we hope by shrinking it to 3 members, kind of think like an appellate court, that the 3 members plus the one alternate will make it a little bit easier to fill. So if you guys are amenable to that, this is the first appearance and come before you again. And then Pete and I's goal is that when we're doing appointments in April, then we can bring a full roster to you all to fill that committee. So that's it, not that complicated.
Any discussion? Comments, questions?
Sounds to me.
No, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is correspondence. None? Items for future consideration. Have none.
I'll just give you guys a heads up quick that February is looking to be a pretty busy month. I'm just warning you all. We have a lot of action items between our bid packages, our bonding, and other things that are kind of been sitting along. So just be prepared, buckle in for some long meetings, but we'll get a lot of stuff done.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Abstaining? All right. The meeting is at an end.
Congratulations.
Right again, sign.
Find that one, that is the service award program.
That silver ship is the.
Yeah, you should.
That's right, yeah, but down there, I think we.
Oh, that's the next one.
Oh.